entrepreneurship is actually just really, it's actually not great.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of Capable Guys, the podcast where we help young people become better.
No matter how you spin it, you still at some point will have to do the work and deliver.
Yeah. If you had to lose everything right now, your company, your business, your money, and all you had was the people around you and your connections, do you think you'd be able to do it all again?
Sometimes the best ideas don't win.
Cool. I don't think that you would say yes.
You've got 10 coins to spend in a day. Do you spend 5 on the person that doesn't text you back?
Yeah.
Or do you spend 1 on them and invest the time and the energy elsewhere? But I don't think it's for everybody. And I'm still actually not sure it's for me.
No ways. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Capable Guys, the podcast where we help young people become better and learn through storytelling. Today, I'm really excited. Quick story. So about 3-4 weeks ago, I put up an Instagram story asking you guys, who should I bring to the podcast? And then one of your employees, Ruby, actually said, dude, you have to have my boss. He'd be amazing. I was like, okay, cool. I didn't think that you would say yes, because I follow you on LinkedIn. And another sub story is that my brother and I have been influencers since 2017. We started going behind the camera. We started working with a lot of corporates. And then we just had this unction to start an influencer marketing agency last year. So when I was doing research about who was doing what, I was like, okay, cool. This guy's doing amazing. So we made you our ghost mentor. So you don't know this, but we've been checking who you work with, what you do. And we've just been learning from the things that you do. And we're like, okay, cool. This guy's amazing. So when Ruby said yes, okay, cool. That would be amazing. And in the beginning of the year, I planned the content that I wanted to discuss. And one thing I wanted to speak about was collecting people. And essentially it's all about your network being your net worth. And I was like, if Ruby is suggesting you, that means that you're doing something really well with people. I think that's a conversation I want to have with you. Because outside of what you've built, I'm really impressed with the people that you've built it with and how everyone is just so strong. So before we go into more about you, I wanted to know, before you started building companies, before Tilt, what were you trying to become as a person?
Sure. It's there's a really great line in Baz Luhrmann's Sunscreen song around the most interesting people that I know didn't know what they wanted to do at the age of 40.
Yeah.
So I think it's very difficult, early 20s, late teens, early 30s, to have an idea of what you want to do. And it's going to continue throughout your life, specifically in a world that is consistently changing, right? Because if I held up a video of this podcast to you 10 years ago, you would have been like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
What I want to be is a presenter on Live Amp on SABC 1, because that was our contextual reference, right? But the world moves at such a fast pace. I think it's less about deciding what you want to be and deciding kind of what skills you want to fundamentally have, and how they might be transferable. Specifically in that kind of entrepreneurial lane, running a business will always be running a business, whether it's a coffee shop or an ad agency or a bank. There'll be fundamental principles that underpin that. So it's probably more around the skills. When I was a kid, I didn't really know that or think like that. So I would go and do the tests around aptitude tests. So you're going to be a good lawyer, you're going to be a good doctor, any of those things. And then kind of life organically happened. And I think to a large extent, if you show up in certain moments, there is an element of kind of luck that's involved, or just sort of fortuitousness that allows you to kind of plug in and figure out what it is that you want to become. But I think it's important to stress that I don't think we're in a world now where someone can say at the age of 16 what they're going to do for the rest of their life. I did have a passion I used to love Wild Room on Yo TV.
Okay, cool.
And I had this passion to be a kids presenter. And later, when I was around 18, I managed to do that on SABC 2. Through that, I then started working at Vuzu, which was a heavy youth-based channel on DSTV. I started working at 5FM. Long story short, when Gareth Cliff left 5, I went with him. That was kind of the starting of this kind of podcasting thing in SA with Cliff Central. He then collabed with Thibaut Touch. I went along with that. And all of that took about 10, 12 years to get to the point of Tilt. And then Tilt's about 8 years old, and it's an influencer marketing space that we kind of play in that's also evolving. And we have no idea what it's going to look like tomorrow either.
I just want to give people some context on the power of Tilt. So I've been working with Tilt for, I want to say, over 3-4 years, right? And in 2024, the agency that paid me the most was you guys. And in you guys equipping me with all that work, I was able to take risks, take on new shows, and even build what you're seeing today. Like have like a team of like 7, paying out like over 15 people a month, like different talent because of what you guys are doing. So I just I want people to understand that Tilt is not a small agency. Like it's something that's differently, you can speak about. I wanted to know, so you spoke about you obviously being in front of the screen, being behind the screen. Which moment in your life do you think you learned the most about yourself?
I think there's a very interesting thing about being kind of the talent and then being behind the scenes. At Vuzu, I was a production intern and I was working on a show called V Entertainment as a production manager. And I would sort of start early in the morning. I would get to Mnet at about 2:00. We'd be done with that night's episode because it flighted at 6 p.m. So everything had to be ready. Yeah. But I would work this kind of 7-ish hours in the morning. And then I would go to SABC and I would be on camera as like a kids TV presenter. Yeah. And I probably earned, and in total on live TV in that afternoon, we'd be on for about 2.5 minutes because it was continuity presenting between the shows. Yeah. And I would probably earn about close to 8 times more through that 2.5 minutes than I did as the production manager. But it was the most important experience to have, because the trick with kind of the talent piece is that for very few people that will be longevity. And so I think what happens sometimes is if you get cash too easily when you're young, you start to build a false perception around how easy or hard it is going to be money. To earn money, right? And it's one of my biggest worries you've taken it the right way, right? That we paid you a lot back in 2017. You went and you reinvested it. The wrong way to do that would be to take that cash and think that it's always going to come through forever. 5 posts on Instagram. Yeah. Which is like my major frustration with influencer at the moment, because I feel like we're setting a lot of people up for failure. Yeah. Because the fundamental truth around like building a business or building a career is that you have to do stuff at little to no rates for an extended period of time to learn how to do the thing. Yeah. We say it with people that come into Tilt, for the first 6 months to a year, they're probably getting more out of it than what we are. Because they're learning and they're engaging and they're interacting with lots of different brands. And learning a lot about that kind of a space that we sit almost at sort of in the South African context, the forefront in. Yeah. So I think there's like that perception around money and having that experience of earning a lot less through a lot more work at such a young age was really, really valuable and possibly one of the best things that happened to me.
That's powerful. In that same time and that same what you just explained now, what did you learn about people the most? Especially being in front and behind, interacting with talent, interacting with the production team.
I think it's a fundamental truth that people are self-interested, right? Yeah. They say that if you have a conversation with someone and you kind of just only find out stuff about them, they'll walk away from that thinking you're an amazing person. Yeah.
True.
So like this kind of Dale Carnegie, how to win friends and influence people thing, I think is really, really big. I think fundamentally people are... they do want their opinions to be heard. They want to feel valued. They also want to feel like they're part of something. And so I think it's just in terms of like building a company or a community, I think if you fundamentally respect people, see them sort of where they're at and figure out a way to add value to their lives, I think you can be quite successful in managing them. Of course, though, like there's instances where you just don't get along with some people. Yeah. And that's quite challenging because you have to decide, am I going to continue to put the effort into this or am I going to just walk away from it? Yeah. There's like a really great theory around this idea of like coins. Like you've got 10 coins to spend in a day. Do you spend 5 on the person that doesn't text you back? Yeah. Or do you spend 1 on them and invest the time and the energy elsewhere? Yeah. So people will, and this is why like everyone thinks AI is going to immediately take over, but if people are still the fundamental thing that drives the world, and people are hugely complex and more complex now than they've ever been before. Yeah. We've had a lot of farewells at Tilt now because 8 years into a business, you realize that every couple of months there's going to be a farewell. As a team gets bigger, it happens. Yeah. And I think what I've come to realize is that when you are working with someone, you're in parallel with them. And there's a great period that happens where you both working towards a personal goal and a business goal, and you run almost like alongside each other. But that doesn't last forever. And so there's a point where you have to like go in a different direction, and maybe those directions don't meet. But I think with people, if you can fundamentally figure out like, how do we run in parallel with each other and empower each other by being together for the longest period of time, that's probably a good way to look at it. And that applies to everything. That's the person that you're with. That's like your biggest investment that you're ever going to make, because they're going to be with you forever. And specifically in terms of how you work with people in a workplace, it's like, what can we do in parallel with each other? And how can we get the most out of each other before we have to split it out? Because no one's going to be, this day and age of like working at a company for 30, 40 years is gone.
That doesn't exist anymore. So as an employer, how do you then teach your team those values that you're speaking about? How do you teach them that, listen, we're running together right now. This is benefiting you like this. This is benefiting me like this. And I need us to run like this for as long as possible. But if you want to pivot, it's okay. Like, how do you get that culture within Tilt?
So it's hard because you obviously also don't want like a high staff turnover rate. So I always feel like, I feel like it's the wrong thing to say almost in these farewells. Like, we've run parallel with each other for a long amount of time. We've kind of come to a split in the road. I think the truth is that there's got to be a realization also that no one is a professional entrepreneur. There's no like degree that you can study that's going to give you the tick boxes for every type of personality and every sort of type of person that you're going to encounter. So 99% of it is feeling it out and trying to respond in the moment in the best possible way to get the best out of that person. But if there's fundamental kind of respect, if there's a fundamental understanding of what their objectives and their goals are, and if there's an understanding of, you know, they understand what you're trying to achieve, I think if it's just about like kind of being on the same page. But it's difficult. I saw a quote the other day around like, entrepreneurship is actually just really, it's actually not great. It's actually really not great. And the trick about it is that someone who's employed somewhere, they're good, they're happy, every month they're getting X amount of money. But you kind of have to then keep the lights on. And in a month like Jan, I mean, we're just coming out of Jan now. You still like, you still have to, even though there's only been 15 working days, you have to figure that out from a financial perspective. But that's the risk that you kind of take. That's the risk and reward piece. But I don't think it's for everybody. And I'm still actually not sure it's for me.
No ways. I feel like payday for an employee and employee is two different feelings. I'm curious, is there a moment where a person has ever changed the trajectory in your career? Like as an individual person?
Yeah, I think there's probably several. I mean, the kids TV thing, I auditioned on a bus at Clearwater Mall. And someone at SABC2 thought, cool, let's give this kid a chance. And there were 4 of us and we just had the best time. So that was a changing moment. Gareth Cliff and his business partner, Arena, at the time, when they sort of took me across from 5 to Cliff Central, that was a changing moment. Touch, when he came into the mix, that was a changing moment. I've had a business partner on Tilt. His name is Jason Levine. That was a huge changing moment. He understood the kind of commercials around running an agency, because there's fundamental things you have to know. You have to know, you know, what is GP, what is OPEX, what are all these things. So he gave like a sort of really strong business lens. But I don't think there's been one defining moment that's kind of changed the trajectory. You see, I mean, I resonate with what you're saying about your sort of network is your net worth, et cetera, et cetera. But you still, no matter how you spin it, you still at some point will have to do the work and deliver. The world is set up in such a commercial kind of context and capitalistic context that if you had to introduce me to who's one of the richest people around,
South Africa or the world? Mark Zuckerberg, I don't know.
Okay, let's go Mark Zuckerberg. And you could say, cool, you can sit down with Mark Zuckerberg. You got an hour with him. He's got $100 million that he's ready to put behind you. Like, I'm still going to have to come up with a thing. And I'm going to have to deliver on the thing. So that's like where this whole thing around opportunity is, where kind of the talent and the preparation and the luck all come together in this magical kind of way. But I don't think you still have to deliver. No matter what, you're always going to have to deliver. And it's the delivery that progresses businesses. If Discovery, as an example, and Nando's, iconic South African business, if they weren't making great chicken, it just wouldn't go anywhere, right? It doesn't matter how many people, how much advertising they're doing. Like, the product has to be good. You have to get it within a certain amount of time. If suddenly it took 2 hours to get the chicken, the whole business would change.
Yeah, true. I feel like there's two phases in entrepreneurship, right? There's that phase where you're building something and you're like desperately trying to get like a client or two, right? And then there's that phase where you've got the client or two, but now you have to actually deliver. And I feel like in both those phases, what it sums down to is like your output. And people are always trying to find like a shortcut, like, okay, cool, if I get funding, or if I do this thing, like, I'm sorted. But what you're saying, like, I originated it. Like, at the end of the day, you have to deliver to feed the client, or you have to put in the work and obviously match your talent, whatever, to actually get the client. So it's like entrepreneurship for me. I just feel like no matter how much you plan, think, read, whatever, it's about you doing the work, of course, strategically, but doing the work consistently. I feel like that's what you're kind of saying. That's what I'm feeling.
It's a very difficult duality. And the other misconception around it is that it looks like everything really great and easy on social media. But the truth is that it takes... it starts at 5 a.m. In the beginning phases, it very much starts at 5 a.m. and like it's just kind of everything happening at once. Which is why like the survival rate of businesses and that kind of thing is what it is. But it is an amazing experience. I mean, I've recently had a child, and that is without any kind of disclaimer, nothing. That is the singular most incredible thing that's ever happened to me. But starting and now running a business and sort of getting a business rolled up into a broader kind of media services group, that has been probably the most incredible project of my life, as opposed to working somewhere. So the risk and reward thing is massive.
It's quite different, yeah.
And people really have to, I think, do that exercise internally and think about it before they rush into it. And then when you do rush into it, you have to just you have to be all in.
Yeah. When did you realize the business wasn't about ideas, but about people?
And people are the execution.
Yeah. The human resource, yeah.
I mean, I think it comes very quickly, right?
Yeah.
You can... And our South African market, I'll speak to marketing services, it gets a really bad rap for everything always looks the same. Why is no one bringing fresh ideas? And I think people do bring fresh ideas, but part of the success of a business is being able to navigate what's going to work commercially versus what's going to sort of be something cool that happened. It's very difficult in marketing because you're meeting the objectives of the brand person who is an employee working somewhere not looking to rock the boat.
Yeah.
And you're coming in wanting to try and rock the boat.
Yeah.
So there's a wrestle that happens there in the beginning. Yeah. And when I think back to some of our first clients who are still clients to this day, I think it's about kind of meeting the client where they're at, trying to push it by like 5% in terms of, this marginal difference being slightly better than what they've done previously, but also not crazy off the charts that their CEO is going to say to them, this is crazy, we're not going to do something like this. But you constantly sort of wading the waters. I put into ChatGPT the other day, based on all my inputs, what kind of headspace would you say I'm in at the moment? And it said, I'm very cautious because every email that I send and maybe this has always been the case, but specifically now that I can do it with ChatGPT, I'm constantly checking the wording and the phrasing and the way something's coming across to see how it might land. Because actually, if the client is the person that's going to facilitate the power of the business, you have to take your ego out of it. And so sometimes the best ideas don't win. But it's about the metric, right? If the metric is running and sustaining a business, then it's not about the best ideas winning. It's about the best ideas for that client coming to life and them continuing to use you. But it's challenging.
Yeah. How long did that take you to learn? Because I'm sure in the beginning, you're like, guys, let's come with the creative juices. Let's come with something fresh.
Well, you learn it quickly because they either issue the PO or they don't. So
valid.
you kind of there's there's a psychology of being able to like read the room, to understand the client, to understand what it is that they're looking for, and how much they kind of want to be rocked or not rocked. And the judgment there actually does come through the commercial. Like if you've pushed them too hard, you don't get the work. And if you have not pushed them enough, then you do get the work, but it's not anything that's kind of breakthrough for them. So I think this marginal difference thing, and I know a lot of people speak about it, it's really, really important. And that's a fundamental truth, because if you make a marginal change in your day in terms of what you eat or whatever, you see the benefit, it like compounds. So those marginal differences, they really do add up.
I see this TikTok question a lot whenever I'm scrolling and watching people, like especially entrepreneurs. If you had to lose everything right now, your company, your business, your money, and all you had was the people around you and your connections, do you think you'd be able to do it all again?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. If you've done it once before, you could do it again. And I would probably, it would look different how you would do it, because you would take the context of the world and where it's at, and you would, I mean, it would be a far more AI-led kind of piece. But no, I think you would. I think that's the test of a great business, is that if it had to just all go away, would you be able to do it again? Yeah.
You've spoken a lot about AI in this podcast, like here and there, and I'm seeing that you actively are engaging with it. How do you feel about AI's, not even arrival, its presence right now, especially when it comes to a business from a business lens within the influencer marketing space?
So I think so it's a total rabbit hole, right? And I think a lot of people are going to get burned by the rabbit hole, because they're going to sit at the computer and they're going to say, what can AI do? And that's going to be the question they're going to ask.
To AI?
Yeah. They're going to think to themselves, like, I want to see everything AI can do.
Oh, yes.
So they're going to walk into the store and they're just going to want everything, right? I think the question is more, what can AI do for me in the context of monthly payroll? Because it's going to narrow it down. It's got so much it's got all the information of the whole world on the thing, that if you look at it and you don't really drill it down to what specifically do I need in this specific second of the day.
Okay, I get you now.
You're going to waste so much time, because it can build an app for influencers. It can build an automated pay system for influencers. It can build a website for influencers. But at the moment,
influencers.
do we need an app for influencers? Just the way that our world works? Probably in the context of Tilt at the moment, no, we don't need an app. So we don't need to spend 6 months and loads of people's time and energy and resource in researching that. Do we need help in streamlining our feedback reports? Absolutely. So like make that the input. But I think a lot of people are going to go down a rabbit hole, and it's just going to waste time.
I hear you. I think being very direct with the way you want to use it for what already exists will be the most powerful way to use it. Do you actively collect people, or do you think you just happen to bump into the right people and then you have that connection? Like, is it like a strategy of yours?
No, I think it's a very small industry, which I think everyone knows, but they don't always act as if it is. And they don't always think about, like, 3-4 months down the line, you could see someone pop up here. And there's 1 or 2 people that if I had to see them in a mall, I'd walk the other way, because I've totally not delivered to those 1 or 2 people, and I've completely messed that relationship up. And ironically, they have gone on to do big things, and those brands I'll just never ever go back to. I think you've got to be receptive to it, and also once you've developed sort of your style, you've developed the culture of your business, you get a strong understanding of who's a fit for that and who isn't, and that's quite an intuitive thing. Sometimes when I look at competitors and I look at kind of the people that work there, having engaged with them before, I'm like, that person would never work in the context of Tilt. It sounds very egotistical to say this, but I do think there's something distinct about someone who works at Tilt, that they've got a really strong mix of commercial and creative ability, and there's a strong sense of kind of teamwork that we instill. Not to say that doesn't exist at other companies, because they're still making money.
Of course.
But I think you have to be really conscious of what your style is, and seek out people that have a style that's slightly different, but not completely on the other side of it. And that's a lot of the time what happens when people start businesses as friends or together, is that they slowly over time realize that their styles are very different. And then it's a bit of an implosion. There's got to be like a fundamental understanding, and I've got to be able to, identify in you a strength that's a weakness for me, but not to an extent that we butt heads over it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's very like trial and error. Some people last 6 weeks at Tilt.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but some people do.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with them because they go on to do amazing stuff. It just wasn't the right space that we couldn't run in parallel.
Okay. Do you have like a internal filter when you're meeting people?
I've heard so much stuff around this. There's a billionaire that I know, you drive in a car together, and based on how you drive when they're sitting next to you, they make like all these assumptions about your personality. Did you brake too fast? Did you not? And then they hire you based on that. It's very difficult, the hiring process. I think the best advice is hire slow and fire fast. That's the best piece I've heard that's made sense. And again, nothing on the person that isn't a fit for it, because they can go on and do amazing stuff. But I think gradually introducing someone into a business versus rocking the boat is usually, and I've seen it play out before. And then I think also there's something to be said for if the fundamental of a business is that it's new, it should be led by young people. I think this is the challenge of advertising and the kind of legacy-based ad agencies and that kind of thing now, is that there's just some people that aren't on TikTok, so they can't talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's actually the opportunity. And that's the thing that's allowed us to become an agency, is that gap.
Okay. So with me, I delegated quite quickly because I hated like editing as an influencer.
Yes.
And then from there were things that I just didn't like doing anymore because I just didn't enjoy like doing them, like admin. Like I studied systems engineering, but then so something about systems that sometimes just frustrates me, right? So I always hire people that can do what I can't do. Is there something that you absolutely refuse to do that you've hired somebody to do now?
What is it that I can't do? I mean, I can't do the actual like uploading of the invoices onto Xero and processing, etc. But I do know how to do it.
Yeah. Like, do you even engage with influencers?
The truth is that, and again, like this is just different styles. I mean, over the December period, I do. Yeah. Like if I have to get a campaign live.
Yeah. You're there.
Then like I do. There's scenarios also where in the context of a team, like I know with our team, if I don't send messages after 5 p.m. I know for a lot of people, sometimes that works.
Yeah.
Or I don't have a huge expectation of someone after 5 p.m. If they want to do something, like usually by 5 o'clock, that office is pretty empty.
Yeah.
And then however, if a client sends something at 8 p.m. in the WhatsApp group, I'll acknowledge it knowing that they'll pick it up the next morning. But if I have to run an influencer thing like I do, I don't know if it's the right or the wrong approach, but I kind of, because I also know the clients well enough and what they need, I can take it on, or I'll make sure that whoever's taking it on is doing it in a way that they feel like it's seen or remunerated or both. Because clients don't respect that 9 to 5.
Yeah. They want to get it done.
But I kind of feel like in our context, we sort of have to.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, I was messaging influencers in December. Please go live with your content now. Send me the ad code. Yeah.
Okay. So with me, I've struggled to build my dream team. I think I've mentioned it before.
Yeah.
And from what you've said, I've got a lot of advice, like hire slow, fire fast. With that hiring slow, my biggest fear is, or not hiring slow, but like, integrating them into the company slowly. My biggest fear has always been that if I don't give them enough tasks or set expectation early, they will think that we work at this level and at this pace. So how would you advise me in that situation?
I think a lot of it, especially as you kind of scale, is the more senior people in the business, you're never going to be able to do it independently. But the higher volume there are of senior people in the business that are really sort of acquainted with the business, understand its fundamentals, it actually does become easier because it becomes a very, learn from other people, not just the person that's leading it kind of space. It is very difficult though when you're a small team. And I mean, we've been every size of team that you can be. We've been the 3, we've been the 4, we've been the 5, because that's what organic growth looks like.
Yeah.
but I think, yeah, it's not easy. This culture piece is the hardest piece.
Yeah.
And this like, but you also can't send someone a to-do list every morning when there's X amount of people working there. Yeah. So you have to start building almost like a kind of a chain of different people can respond to different things. And I don't think that we're particularly great at it. I think that we could function far more optimally. And we could use tech and we could use all that stuff a lot more. We could have deeper onboarding for staff. Yeah. But there's just a lot of stuff to do in a day.
You need the people now,
Yeah.
So then what expectation do you have from your managers then? Because I'm seeing that you leave it to your managers to obviously lead by example and obviously monitor here and there. How do you then treat your managers?
I think that everyone has to buy into the kind of fundamental vision of the business. So for us, the vision is that we fundamentally believe that people believe people, not brands. We believe in influencer marketing.
Yeah.
We believe in the evolution of it being more creative. We believe in the creator economy. We believe in all of those things. We also believe in respecting each other.
Yeah.
So I think it's almost like if you've got that shared vision that everyone buys into, whoever's in the business, if they haven't been in it for long, eventually will learn and align themselves to that. Okay. But it's not like this tangible thing. It's a hard thing. Like I was at a coffee shop the other day and the barista was like, she wasn't really like invested in being there. Yeah. She was sort of just like, oh, whatever, like I'm just going to make this coffee. And I thought like, yeah, something's wrong. They've gotten this wrong.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, she hasn't bought into the vision and the owner's clearly not here. They're just letting them run with it. And to be honest, it's not really going to go anywhere and it's not going to happen. So I think it's more of like a feeling, sadly.
Okay. So then what makes somebody exceptional to you, not on paper, but in real life?
So the delivery thing. And kind of showcasing that delivery and surprising you. We've had people that have come through Tilt that are at Tilt that you can see them leading a team. You can see them ask, when people that work with you ask the questions that you would have asked plus their questions, I think that's when you know that it's kind of starting to translate because then you're really on the same wavelength. So like, we can execute a campaign and does the account manager need to be there on the evening of or don't they? If someone else is asking that question or if that account manager themselves is saying, actually, I'm just going to be there. I'm just going to, no one has to ask me. Yeah. Then I think you've onto something. But some people just fit and some people don't.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing.
Yeah. What would you say?
I feel the same way about influencers as well. Yeah. Because we get so much backlash around why do you consistently use this person?
Yeah.
Well, it's because that person shows up and they take themselves seriously.
Yeah.
And they deliver on it.
Yeah.
They deliver on you consistently deliver on what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
But not everyone's like that.
Yeah. I think people ignore that level of professionalism that you need to have in order to have repeat customers or repeat clients.
Yeah.
What's something most founders usually hire for that you would say you avoid?
Something that most founders hire for that I avoid. I don't have a deep belief in like, it's going to sound so brash when I say it. I'll phrase it differently. I believe more in our specific business, in influencer that is so new. Yeah. I believe more in learning on the job than having sort of worked through several thousand textbooks to arrive at it. Fair. I don't think that what we're doing now is in a textbook.
I don't think it's been taught, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm learning new stuff every day. So I don't think that there's a textbook out that speaks about ad codes on TikTok.
Yeah.
And how to...
100%.
I don't think it exists. So I'd rather someone comes with a fresh perspective. I prefer actually kind of a younger cohort of staff.
Yeah.
And getting that balance right between sort of people that have been around and then sort of young, fresh ideas, I think is important.
Yeah. Earlier you spoke about like, your employees are told that some people have been there for, I think it was one instance, for 6 weeks and some have been there for longer.
Yeah.
Have you ever like hired somebody that was great on paper, but then just failed culturally?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And the culture thing is just like, it's specifically in a very creative based business, right? Where it's not objective. So when we send a video to a client to review, there's no like, they're kind of just telling you what they feel about it. There's no like data. I mean, they can say there is, they've uploaded it, but really it's how they feel about it. Same when you're in a meeting and you say, let's work with this, it's how they feel about it. It would be different in an accounting services business because either the profit and loss statement the person has produced is right or it's wrong. There's a whole code of the way that works. In our business, because it's so objective, it's a different kind of business.
It's very objective. I don't forget one time I got like a feedback on one of my videos and the person was like, I'm just not feeling
I know.
And then I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, like please give me like timestamp, like what are you not feeling? And they're like, I don't know, but like, can you just do it again? And I'm just there like, yo, okay, cool. Like, you know, the client is always right.
Not necessarily, by the way. Client is not necessarily always right. The other thing that I'm not speaking about is the fact that we have fired clients before.
Is it?
Because culturally there's not a fit between them wanting something at 2 a.m. that's actually not really due at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's also really important.
How do you get to that stage where you're like, let's lose out on this income?
Well, usually the hardest clients are the lowest revenue clients.
Okay.
Sometimes it does go hand in hand.
Yeah. I've heard about that.
And then I think it's also just like you can double the business in the course of a year, but what kind of business are you then going to become?
Yeah.
There's like fundamental truths about organic growth that I think are true. And then also, and it happens a lot, if specifically in marketing services, if your client is a bank and the culture at that bank is just horrible and everything's wrong, and the accounts person at the agency is only working on that bank, like their culture becomes your culture, and it messes up your business. Because if that person is consistently uninspired, consistently being put down, consistently just like really not having a great time, they're either going to leave or they're going to bring other people down at the agency. So the client thing is difficult, and it gets harder and harder because the stakes get higher and higher because the OPEX grows every single month. So to let go of someone who's like a big client because there's no culture fit, it's like it's very difficult to convince at like a higher level because you can see that this is how cash is coming in. So it's a difficult call to make.
I'm at the stage in my company where I've been like you mentioned, like I was at the 1 phase, then moved to the 3 phase, moved to the 5 phase. And it was always towards the creative, like making the creative better. And I'm seeing that sales is something that I've been like liking and that I'm trying to focus on. What's that one role that you had maybe when you're starting Tilt that kind of just changed everything for you?
In terms of who we brought into the business?
Like roles, like a department.
Yeah, a department that was a really important one to get. So by the way, just looking around here and everything that you've created and following your story, you will, without a doubt, I mean, I'm not a gambling man, so I won't put money on it, but you will look back on this as some of the most incredible time that you've had in a business. This kind of like beginning part of it where it's like, we're all on the same page. We're trying to make this thing happen. We're doing this thing. We're starting to get recognition from like these brands that I've grown up with. When I go into Pick and Pay, like I can see the people that I'm working with, and like I know the person in procurement, not just the brand manager.
Okay, cool.
Like you'll look back on this as some of the, there's even walking into this is a part of me that's envious of this like moment in this, creating it in the YouTube plot. Like it's really, really dope. Like this is epic what you've got going here.
I appreciate that.
It'll just become more like there'll be an element of structure that'll come into it. There'll be an element where you have to have the labor laws in like plain sight because the guy's going to come from the department, and the leave system will have to be like, you'll have to do heavy leave negotiations in a contract with someone. I think HR and kind of finance, those are probably the two divisions where it starts to feel like really, really a little bit more serious. Because now someone's just dedicated to uploading the invoices and processing it and coming out with like profit and loss and all of that stuff. So that's where it starts to get serious. The stress level remains the same, and you actually probably have more fun when you're exploring and you kind of getting on board. But then the fun also looks different down the line. It's a trip. It's going to be a trip. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it has. I know with us, like, we've had so many issues, and I'll tell them to you off camera, like quickly afterwards, but we've had so many issues that have woken us up so quickly. Like we just recently got like new accountants because the guy we had before completely messed us up, but we'll speak about that off camera. What do you think is harder, firing somebody or admitting that you were wrong about that person?
You will. Oof. What is harder, firing someone or admitting you were wrong about that person? So I'm very conscious of the fact that someone who's hired someone, and I see this with our clients, won't want to realize that that person's a bad fit. So I try and actively avoid that. I also can't fire people. Like my business partner he'll be the person to have the hard conversation with the person. I just can't actually do it, which is also okay. That's also fine.
Yeah, you know yourself.
I mean, if he had to be like, I'm not doing it, then I'd have to try and figure it out. I think it's also just being in tune with the people that they're working with, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you have to decide, like, do you stick it out with this person or do you reshift the sort of role that they play in a business? Are they just assigned to the wrong team? Should they be, would they be more valuable in a different kind of scenario? But you have to really debate and discuss these things, and you have to be getting constant feedback from the team that they're kind of working with and from the clients. I mean, we do an annual client satisfaction survey, which always like surprises me with what they're saying. We think we know what a client is thinking, whether they like us or not. And often it's not what you think it is. It's not that they come back and say that the price is too high. They come back and say the response time felt a little bit slow, or we didn't feel heard, or that kind of balance of, you guys putting people forward versus people working with people that we like wasn't right. So I think maybe the reliance needs to be on other people versus just your own inner voice. But we naturally want to think we know everything.
Yeah.
But we don't. Like, you've got a perception of how everyone here thinks about you. But if we had to put them on a lie detector test, you'd probably learn interesting things about what they think.
I want to ask this question, but I feel like you've already answered it. Have you ever kept somebody for too long because you just cared about them too much?
Possibly even myself. Like,
because you just mentioned this earlier. You were saying you're not sure if you think this is entirely for you.
Yeah. I mean, there's also a point in a business where, like, my perspective and my view of things is holds the business back, right? I mean, that happens a lot with founders of businesses. I still think there's a little bit of runway, and I still think I've got a lot to teach people coming into the business and a lot to learn from them as well. But yeah, when you keep someone around, again, you know what the reflection will be? It'll be the POs. In a commercial context, it just always comes down to this.
Yeah.
If you say to yourself, I want to make 10 Rand in 2026,
Yeah.
and 10 Rand, and you made 8 Rand the previous year, so it's not like a crazy growth margin. If you don't make the 10 Rand, then something's going wrong.
Yeah. I think your team will reflect your money in, because I mean, if they make a mistake, the money in,
you can see
it goes down.
Yeah. It's, the great thing about accounting is it's so black and white.
Yeah.
Like, the number's either there or the number's not there.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, then you are doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Yeah.
Why do you think great people choose you?
Why do I think as Tilt, we've got a good sense of this kind of unlocking the best in each other in that moment.
Yeah.
And I have no issue with throwing someone that's just started in the business, fresh out of Vega, onto a call with a CMO to present something.
Yeah.
Like, I actually think that for that 50 plus CMO, it's refreshing to see a 20-something-year-old speak about something, and they're going to give them a vantage point because that's who they're trying to speak to anyway.
Yeah.
So I think, I think people choose us because you can grow really, really fast, and I'll send you on your own to that massive brand to present something. In fact, I often get pushback from the more junior guys in the business that they get like nervous to present something. I'm like, no, just do it. People are hearing my voice too much. Like, split up the deck between the four of you. Yes, you've this is like maybe you didn't even know how Teams worked a week ago.
Yeah, but you can do it.
But like for the other person on the other side of it, I think it's refreshing, right? That's the space that we work in. They want to speak to 20-something-year-olds. So what's it going to help me presenting the thing?
Yeah.
Like, let it be the person that's worked on it and that's done it.
Yeah, I hear that. So being a leader, you've had a lot of touch points with people that you've employed. And I'm sure there's many people that you find exceptional. What do you think exceptional people look for in a leader?
I think runway.
Okay.
I think if you are and you can think about this in your own context. If you are, by the way, I hate giving advice like this because I'm like, what have I achieved to give this advice? But that's a self-introspective conversation for another day. So there's a huge disclaimer on this that it may or may not work for you, because really take it from where it comes. But great people will not want to feel like you're micromanaging them or holding them back. You have to give them runway. You have to allow them to fail. You have to rein them in when you feel like it's really life or death. But if they go into a call and they say something wrong, you kind of got to let it go. There's a great psychology in like, if someone makes a massive mistake, giving them more responsibility. And even like we were chatting to one of the editors or whatever, I think that a couple of years ago, he was saying that he dropped a drive. I didn't even know that I think I kind of like vaguely remember this, and we had to pay a fortune to do the data recovery. But it wasn't like he dropped the drive and it was this whole like, you're in trouble now and da-da-da-da-da. Like, if anything, I think we said, okay, cool. We just, you got to figure out how to make it work. And then you got to he has more responsibility within the business. Sometimes people will surprise you. But if you don't give great people runway and you consistently questioning them, I think they'll go elsewhere, or they'll think that they can do it better independently, which they very well may be able to do.
If someone at home is watching this and they are trying to attract powerful people, what advice would you give them?
I think defining what powerful is first. And having a strong sense of, there's a lot of fallacy out there with social media around like, I think people still think that you could like just blow up on Instagram and that's it, you're going to be made for life. So I would be quite conscious of who you're trying to attract. I kind of like, what does powerful people even mean? I think we're in South Africa, specifically in marketing, advertising, I don't think there's anyone that's necessarily hugely out of reach, right? You can go onto LinkedIn, you can find the brand manager, the marketing manager, the CMO. Where the wheels fall off is what you say to that person or the credibility you have when you're trying to pitch something to them. So you're still going to have to earn your stripes.
Okay. We've got literally 2 more questions and then I'm going to set you free. So you spoke about LinkedIn and you spoke about everybody being within reach. Now, there's a young person who has a business idea. He has all of the skills, but he just doesn't know how to get that one client because he has no work to show for it. What advice would you give that person?
And we get a lot of influencer. When I look at the emails though, I'm just like, oh, you got to put the handle in, right? I get that everyone's at different levels. I think that sometimes the best way to get someone to see what you can do is to do it. In the influencing context, I found that when we've seen creators just organically make something and tag the brand, it always comes up in conversation. Even better if they tag the brand manager, always comes up in conversation.
I've never heard of that one before.
But it is hard. I think there's this fallacy that we've created around it being like quite easy. It is, most people are not going to respond. We get tons of emails, not going to respond. I always say like, if you are great enough, we will find you. So you have to put in the work to get to that greatness. And that's not 12 pictures on a grid of you at restaurants in Johannesburg. That's not, you got to show.
I need to say that loud. I need the girls to hear that right.
You got to show like a tangible skill and how you can add value because we work in a commercial world. It would be lovely to think that like it didn't matter, but it does. If it's toothpaste, they want to sell more toothpaste. So how are you going to empower them to do that?
So final question, in terms from my team, they're saying, who are you grateful for that you feel never gets credit?
Who am I grateful for that I feel, that still comes down to the fundamentals of like family and my partner. Like that's, those are the most important. Those are the people that have been with you through the most. I think like in a business context, there's obviously been amazing people. My business partner, Jason, Janine, who we work with, everyone at Tilt, Ruby, like all Umpilia, all these really amazing there's tons of, everyone who works is amazing. Credit though is also like the people that they're genuinely stoked to see you do something and achieve something. But yeah, it's it's a tough question because I mean, how do you express gratitude to those people?
Yeah.
There's so many people that'll influence your career. There's so many people that'll be a part of getting you to this point.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people have had to do a certain thing for you to get to a point that you can rent the space?
Yeah.
Like it's endless.
It's endless.
And they all deserve credit.
100%.
And you'll do it. You already do it for other people as well. So that's a tough question to end it on. Jeez,
That was answered well. Thank you so much for your time. I
Thank
think
you.
this episode is going to teach a lot of young people the power of people. And thank you for your gems, your wisdom. It's been a pleasure. If you guys are watching at home, please don't forget to subscribe, guys. I'll ask you guys to do one thing and just subscribe for this episode. And we'll see you guys next week, Thursday. So we drop the video on YouTube every Thursday at 3 p.m. and the audio is on Spotify and Apple Music every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Danko.